Thank you. You mentioned to not romanticize compassion. What does it mean to romanticize compassion?
Many times in your modern cultures, the concept that compassion is something that can save everything, heal everything, prevent destruction, prevent cruelty, is simply, well, like the films you watch on your screens when you simply want a good ending. Compassion is romanticized when someone does so with the intention of changing one's chosen path or perceiving that one is a victim of something that they did not choose. Romanticizing compassion could be an image of feeling that a savior needs to be born into your world and then die into it for the sake of loving you so much when someone else told you that you have wronged, that you have sinned, that you were not instinctively, innately worthy. This false compassion could not be further from the greatest Buddha wisdom of the true compassion, which is there presently in all moments, in all times, without providing power or removing it. Compassion, you see, isn't about power. Compassion is about health of the mind, of the body, and of the heart. And health is the result of relinquishing all of your desires to save something from itself.
How can we practice compassion for ourselves?
You may practice compassion by giving yourselves ample opportunity for it. You see, compassion is deeply related to the nature of being able to see truth. Utilizing the quiet, soft wisdom of the heart of the Buddha, discernment arises quickly, very swiftly, painlessly even. But it is so soft, like the whisper of the bee as it buzzes by your ear in a summer day's nap on the grass. It feels as if it must be acknowledged, but then it's gone. And the mind can't quite grasp it. Compassion is the soft voice that quickly comes and says, open the door to the elderly person behind you or in front of you. Compassion says, stop what you are doing for one moment to address the needs of another, and then feel the bounty of love as your own needs are addressed in such giving. You see, the reason why it is difficult in this world at this time for you to practice compassion is because you're too destructively busy with the innate, unnatural thought that your brothers and sisters are behaving terribly, and your minds are deeply attached to the nature of your own human concept, which you have called justice. Saving is the other side of that justice. You can't save yourselves or another from a world that doesn't exist, but feels as if it does. When your brothers and sisters behave cruelly, insanely even, You can't heal them unless you begin to perceive the sanity within their hearts. Even if you perceive that they wish for it, is it not an initial beginning to the healing?
I feel like you gave such a wonderful answer on this, but the first question is, you are known as the mother of compassion. How can we be more compassionate beings? Is there anything else that you'd like to expand on that?
You are my brothers and sisters. You are my children and my parents. You are all the beings that have ever existed alongside me in my path. There was but one thing that all of the great Buddhas taught, and that was peace. Yet the Buddha recognized that peace is not an attainment. It is not a path to tread. It is not a place to go, or something to hold within or without. When you can practice looking with peace upon your brothers and sisters, when you can practice looking with compassion upon them, God will come rushing into your heart like a water flow, powerfully, like the rivers of the Nile. And you will feel so much gratitude in your heart. And you will recognize that compassion is your gift to God, and that you cannot be without it. It is impossible to be without it, you see.
How do we send love to our hearts when we are in grief?
When you begin to perceive that compassion is not hierarchical, patriarchal, you will begin to notice that masculine, active energy is the capacity that is moving in your worlds. When you believe that you hold the ability to be born and to die, that is the masculine. It is an action that is ever moving and shifting. You are creating, transforming, shifting through the energy of this masculine. You see, with feminine, it is still. It is moving simultaneously at a pace that is particle by particle, like the dripping of a faucet. And before you know it, you have a sink full of love. Yet the mind will tell you you must have the sink full of love without the dripping along the way, you see. Just start small. If you could give any compassion without intention to receive anything from it, this is the first step in practicing the love for a grieving heart. Simply to send compassion to it and to receive compassion from Divine Mother is the first start. You can indeed afford to bring joy to the thought of fear, to bring compassion to the thought of grief, and to bring strength to the thought of suffering. Simply to say that grief and fear and suffering are illusions would not be compassionate to the heart of a grieving child. True? And why would you state the obvious, which is that they are illusion, to the heart of your own inner child? Did that feel better? Was it a balm of healing for anyone ever throughout the ages? Probably not, you see. Compassion isn't about throwing the harsh truth like a board upon the child, as if for some degree of cruel discipline. Compassion is like floating, being held in the arms of God. Compassion is to relinquish all of the trust that you have in and of yourself. In the same way which would occur if you were drowning and you were deep into the waters in the center of a lake. The only miracle that it could occur for you in the moment is stillness, to release the struggling, the strife, and the striving, the thrashing of the arms and the legs and the tightness of the muscles. You would recognize that if you did not relent, you would become exhausted and the body would cease. Yet there is a natural holding of Divine Mother and Divine Father in the waters of compassion when you release the tension in the body and the mind and simply be held. Then you notice the body carries itself. This is the nature of how you can be when you are grieving.
We have such a small group with us today. Is it possible for Quan Yin to share with us some specific practices on how we can be more compassionate to those that want a more personal message?
If they were but asked individually, yes.
Thank you. So while we await on anyone who would like a message, I'll go to the next question. What is the most common negative belief we hold as humans?
Unworthiness.
What is the most common positive belief we hold as humans?
You're not quite there yet, but you do wonder about the possibility of love being true.
Where can we begin to see more love in the world right now?
It may be easy for me to advise you to see it in the innocent as a place to begin when you cannot see it in those who harm, in those who are cruel, destructive. However, I'm going to advise you just the opposite. I'm going to advise you to remind yourselves when you do not feel compassionate, those you have judged as not innocent are the beings who need the compassion the most. When you can recognize this truth, you will melt the hardness around their hearts. And no matter the result of your striving, compassion is not an effort. It is not an action. It is not even a state of mind. It is an essence that arises when two or more beings recognize that they are loved and that faith can be the tool to remember their worthiness.